Football is awesome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to Friday Night Roots, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Thomas. Do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell too. Don't miss any of the content we're going to be doing. And let's jump right into it. Well, wow, what an amazing Sunday of football. And just to top it off the way we topped it off with the Commanders Bucks game, it was just amazing. I had so much fun, and I can't wait to dive into it. But we're gonna go in order of the games today. So let's jump right in. Let's start talking about Broncos Bills. Score of the game ended up being 7-31 Bills. Overarching thoughts on the game. It was a really good game. It was really good until right before half, and that's when you really started to see the Broncos start to slip and fall. But other than that, I thought it was, I thought it was pretty good. Ultimately the Broncos did fall 7-31, and the Bills are going to be playing the Ravens in the divisional round, and the Texans are now set to go play the Chiefs. So the divisional round set over there in the AFC. All the AFC playoff games are over. Let's jump right into the game. I learned something interesting that Bo Nix is the first rookie QB in Broncos history to start a playoff game. So congratulations to Bo Nix for that. The Broncos started strong, first drive touchdown. Bo threw a bomb to Troy Franklin, and I know I've been pretty high on Bo Nix just because I think he has the ability to become a real top threat quarterback in this league, especially accompanied by Sean Payton. So anyway, Bills of course just drove right down the field, ended up kicking a field goal. It got a little concerning there at the beginning. The Bills weren't, I know their nickel safety, Taron Johnson, ended up getting hurt, but he ended up coming back later. So that kind of created a little bit of concern for me at one point. And like I said, the Bills just started a little slow. But even when they started slow, they were running the ball so well. And ultimately the Broncos I thought would do better. They just couldn't handle it. James Cook looked so good. So yeah, Broncos just didn't look well there. Then Cook ended up, having a short touchdown right after that. What was really interesting to me is, there was I think 10 minutes left in the second. Sean Payton called a fake punt, which was, it worked. They ended up throwing it. The punter ended up throwing it to Mims for a completion. I just thought it was maybe a little early to do that because the game was still, within the Broncos' grasp. So it really came down to, the beginning of the game was just a defensive battle until the halftime. And then once the halftime hit, you could really see, the Broncos were just overwhelmed a little bit. And not only that, Denver did miss that field goal right before half, kind of cut off the momentum, I'd say. Broncos defense, their defensive line played well, I think, and they just think they ended up fading away, getting overwhelmed. That Buffalo Bills offensive line is probably the second best thing I would compliment the Bills on other than Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen, carries that franchise. He looked amazing today. Other than Josh Allen and that Bills O-line, I don't love the Bills. I think Josh Allen really carries that franchise. I think, as much as I think he's, I know they said, he doesn't take a lot of sacks. Well, that's because he's fucking Josh Allen. I just think he's so good. And once again, MVP in my book this year, Josh Allen. He played so good. The Bills secondary really played well. Matt Milano at linebacker. They just ended up squeezing him, and it wasn't good. But I give the Broncos credit. They're a new team. They're just getting their feet wet. They're an exciting football team to watch. It could be interesting to see what their future looks like. And yeah, back to Cook. Buffalo could just run really well all day. They didn't struggle at all to run the football. Not only that, the Bills had tons of spectacular catches today. Tons. That one to the running back Johnson in the end Johnson, something like that, in the end zone. Incredible. But at the end of the day, this game was good. I think here's what I have to think. I think the Broncos had a great season. I think the Broncos have found their franchise QB. I think they found the coach for the coming years. I think still having $89 million in dead cap money from Russell Wilson and that whole shitstorm that got handed to Sean Payton. I just think the Broncos have a lot to be excited for and a lot to look forward to next year. So hats off to Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Definitely keep an eye out for the Broncos next year. Josh Allen played lights out, as always. Josh, MVP in my book, 135.4 rating, 20 for 26 in passing, and a hell of a bunch of rushing and passing yards. He played so well. But yeah, like I said, future's bright for the Broncos, and now the top two MVP candidates, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson get to go out in the divisional round, playing. So that'll just be super exciting, and I can't wait for that one. So. But Broncos, I think they have a bunch of key free agents to look out for that I heard they were noting. Javonte Williams, QB Zach Wilson, and Jarrett Stidham. Not that they're a big impact to the Broncos. I'm just curious as to where Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham end up. Javonte Williams, who knows where he'll end up. But anyway, AFC divisional round, Bills play the Ravens, and then, like I said, because of that wrapped up, the Texans are going to go play the Chiefs, which will be super exciting, and I can't wait to react to those. Next game, Eagles-Packers. Score ended up being 22-10 Eagles. My prediction originally was 21-17, so I was close. I was just a little off. Eagles OC Kellen Moore, give him hats off to him today. Did well, I think, with Jalen coming back. I think they stayed true to the run game. Saquon's a beast as always. Green Bay, what's interesting about this game is that after the game I was looking at the stats, Green Bay had more yards and first downs, and they were basically tied for time of possession at 30 minutes each. Just about. It was just, I just thought the Packers could have done better, but Jordan Love looked like absolute shit today. Like, what the fuck was he doing? Oh my God. Fumble at ultimately that fumble at the beginning, I actually disagree. I think the Packers guy landed on that again. I get they need clear and vivid evidence, but I think the Packers guy, I think he got it. So I don't think that ball should ever been turned over at the beginning of the game to begin with. And then Saquon was just being Saquon all day, just an absolute menace with the football in his hands. Dump truck, downhill, heavy-headed runner, just some guy it's just one of those players you don't want to meet in open field. He'll make you look stupid. Eagles O-line, absolutely. I think they're like number 1 or number 2 along with the Lions. Outstanding. I mean, the Eagles O-line out. Jalen had multiple minutes, so comfortable in the pocket. I mean, he could have set up a barbecue and barbecued some burgers back there. He had so much time. There was a few times the Packers picked it up in the middle towards the end of the game, but Jalen was fairly comfortable. Eagles ended up, I think, at that point, towards the end of the first, they were up 10-0. So, but let's talk about Jordan Love. Holy shit. I mean, the moon ball to Slay Jr., what the hell were you looking at, man? I hated that. I kind of liked what they did with the Tucker Kraft tush push kind of thing. I thought that was cool. Kind of made it interesting. McManus missed the first field goal of his postseason career with 5 minutes left in the second. That was, I don't know. They're just the poor Packers. They've struggled with kickers. They just didn't look that good. And then Slade Jr. ends up getting injured after a possible arm injury, and the Packers just can't capitalize. And then linebacker Nakobe Dean ruled out, with a knee injury, and it was like, okay, guys, this is it. And I wrote down in my notes following that, why pay Jordan Love? I wrote that down, and I was like, why pay Jordan Love? Like 8 games, and I know everyone in the league says his ceiling's is uncapped, which is true. I agree, his ceiling is uncapped. But he looked terrible today. Fucking terrible. And I just think that's I get why you paid him. I think he can be developed in the right guy. But you can have a big arm, but if you're the worst decision maker in the world like Jordan Love was today, well, you ain't winning shit. And that's got to be frustrating for Matt LaFleur. Anyway, then McManus ended up hitting a 21-yarder, and then another bad interception from Jordan Love to Bond, with 35 seconds left in the second. It was just like, come on, dude, give your team a shot here. Give your team a shot. Josh Jacobs, holy shit, his back's got to be hurting. He put that Packers team on his back today and carried him. He said, listen, if you guys aren't going to help me, I'll do it my fucking self. So he had a monster run to set up an awesome TD. Good for him. Ended up being 10-16 Eagles with 14 left in the fourth. And then Goddard came back. The Eagles ended up marching out the field. Goddard came back with that awesome stiff arm to score. Congrats to him. That was fucking sweet. Jake Elliott ended up hitting a field goal after that, 10-19 Eagles. Overall, it was a good game, but the Packers the Packers defense actually, I thought, did a pretty good job. I just think that when you're on the, and they had, like I said, a pretty equal time of possession, so neither defense was on the field longer than the other. I just think that the Packers just couldn't get anything going that way. They looked bad. They looked out of shape on offense. They looked out of shape on offense. Jordan Love was making terrible decisions. Just a bad game. I'm not trying to hate on Jordan Love too much, but this is one of those games you have to judge him on. You have to look back and go, geez, man, that was an ugly game. Eagles ended up with 4 takeaways. Love threw 3 interceptions. And it ended up, and I think the Eagles kicked another field goal to end it 10-22 Eagles. So yeah, that was the final score. Close to my prediction. I predicted 21-17, but I was off. And at this point, the Eagles are going to get to go play the Vikings or the Rams, so it'll be exciting to see which one they end up playing. If I'm the Eagles, I probably want to play the Rams. Given the Vikings ceiling after. I mean, I know Sam Darnold struggled a little bit against the Lions, so congratulations to the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly, and let's jump into the best game of the day. Let's jump into the Commanders Bucks. The Commanders Bucks. Wow, I think it ended at 23-20. What a great game. I think I predicted 30-17 Commanders. I loved watching the replay dynamic of Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Evans. That was so awesome just to see those two bout. A lot of energy from the Bucs in the first drive. It looked good. They just ran down the field. McLaughlin hit a 50-yard field goal to give them a lead. Commanders go in 4th and 2, and actually they ended up missing Eckler. But here's what I didn't like. I thought the Commanders could have capitalized way more tonight. I thought they could have been up, 6 points just on taking those field goal opportunities they just never took. Once again, who am I to judge? They did win the game, but they should have ultimately, even at the beginning of the game when they had that 4th and 2 that they missed to Eckler, kick the field goal, man. Take the points. The game's too early. You could have had it tied up, and then instead they kind of had this weird. They drug it out towards the end of the third, and I just don't think they had to do that. Bucky Irving, I know he got the start, a week or two ago. Very deserving. Listen, Rachaad White's great, but Bucky Irving, what a stud! He's gonna be a super super good Buccaneer for the time to come. I thought the Commanders' offense had the control of the line of scrimmage the whole time, and I thought they were moving the ball, but they were just struggling to score. And I thought those 4th downs really hurt them. There was a wide open play to Brown for a Washington touchdown, right there with 9 minutes left in the second, and that's what really got the ball rolling for Washington. Scored 7-3. Gonzalez hit one, made it 10-3 right before half, and then basically I wrote down in my notes the Bucs need some offense now. It's time to get it going. Up until that point, even though the game was close, the Commanders owned it. Jaden Daniels was the first half MVP of that. I mean, Jaden Daniels was so good, absolutely remarkable. He carried the first half, and I don't think he carried the whole game. Some of the other players got involved, and then Baker played well. He was dipping his shoulder, dumping linebackers, getting big runs. I thought how they wasted that 10 seconds before the halftime when Todd Bowles decided to delay calling that timeout. I thought that was weird. I thought what a waste of time. I thought they could have capitalized more. But it doesn't matter. They ended up scoring anyway, so either way. But Mike Evans had that awesome touchdown in the back of the end zone from Baker to tie it 10-10 right before the halftime. And I was looking at the stats at halftime, and Jaden and Baker basically had the same stats. They were both leading their team in rushing. They both had 108 passing yards exactly. So thought that was an interesting take, but you could tell the Commanders had owned the game and owned the line of scrimmage. Then Commanders ended up kicking another field goal, and then Bucky ended up coming and scoring. Now the Bucs are up 13-17, and then Jaden, they come back down the field, ended up converting on a 4th and 3 to Zach Ertz with a minute left in the third. That was cool, and then finally you have 4th and goal, not converted to Zach Ertz, 17-13 Bucs, and I almost, I was yelling at the TV going, what are you doing? Take the points, take the points, take the points. But they just didn't. I just thought it was so weird that Cliffs. I get being aggressive and doing that, but it just they just should have taken the points. That could have lost them the game, and they're lucky it didn't. But luckily for them, the football god saved them. Baker fumbles at the Tampa Bay 11. That saved them. So, oh man, they need to pray to the football gods and say thank you. And then Wagner ended up picking it up. And then of course Jaden's pass to Scary Terry turning the score 2017 Commanders. And then McLaughlin ended up hitting the field goal for the Bucs, tying it up 2020. I think at the end of the game, I didn't love how Todd Bowles played it. I thought they should have called their timeouts earlier when they had a closer shot to stop them. And then ultimately, Gonzalez made that crazy dink and dunk finish, which I've never seen before in a wild card game. I mean, another quarter of an inch to the right, that ball may not go in. I mean, he barely skimmed the top of that upright, Boom, congratulations, Commanders. They end up winning it. What an exciting football game that was to watch. I loved watching every second of it. I thought Baker put on a clinic today. I thought, yeah, she struggled in the first half, but the real rising star and MVP of that game's got to be Jaden Daniels. I mean, listen, I know it's not a hot take, but he's fucking good, and the league better keep an eye out for him in fantasy. Keep an eye out for him, And I know Cliff Kingsbury said today that he's not necessarily willing to rush out of the building if the right opportunity isn't there. If you keep Jaden Daniels, you keep him with Cliff Kingsbury, I think the Commanders are another one of those teams that just start to take over along with the Broncos. So congrats to the Commanders, congrats to Jaden. What an exciting football game to watch for us. And just football is awesome. I had such a good time watching the games today, just eating food. So it was good. To end out this video, I want to preview tomorrow's game, Rams Vikings. I have my prediction for tomorrow's games. I got Vikings 24. Rams 20. I just think that I know it seems closer. I want to give a bigger split, but I just can't. I just really think that, when Matthew Stafford's playing well, Puka's playing well, the Rams they can win any game, any week. They're just one of those teams that can just win when they out of nowhere. But I will say, being a Niners fan and watching Matthew Stafford, who I'm a huge Stafford fan, even though I'm a Niners fan. Stafford's got his laser precision, his quick decision making skills make him a real asset. But he is getting older, and I think like this year he's had a way harder time this year, maybe adapting to certain situations and getting the ball out as accurately as usual. Plus, with all the injuries they encountered, the Rams have they feel like they're always one step behind, but from being just like the best team out there, just like that year they won the Super Bowl. So I'm super excited for that. I'll do a reaction video tomorrow after the game. So anyway, as always, I appreciate the support. Like, share, and subscribe. And let's talk some football. And later. Love ya.